Yeah, people. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back. It's Mosaic Plates back again with another video. And today, I've got a complete treat for you today. I've got curry goat that I'm preparing for me and my girl for dinner. You know what I'm saying? It's the goat of all meals. I can't lie. No pun intended, But yeah, man, if you're from Jamaica or the Caribbean and you love curry goat, big yourself up 10 times. You know what I'm saying? I just want to say, this video, I don't know if I've explained it already. I will explain it in my future videos, trust me. But if you have any questions about what this channel is about, let me know, I'll explain it to you. But the video doesn't really link to what I talk about in the topics. As you can tell from the title, that's what I'm going to be speaking about. But for a visual aid, it helps just to, have something to focus on, and I like cooking as well. But I will explain that to you later on. But without further ado, let's get this on. No, that was a bit cringe. But yeah. Big up Auntie Bemi. Auntie Bemi. Auntie Bemi is a G. If you don't know who Auntie Bemi is, she's also known as the boss auntie. She stands on like islands or somewhere right on the edge of the pavement, right? So she's basically touching the road, and she's filming herself in selfie mode with buses passing her, and she's very enthusiastic is the word. She's very enthusiastic about the London buses. She loves the red iconic bus, as we all do as Londoners, you know what I'm saying? And tourists, tourists love them more than Londoners, but yeah, she's very enthusiastic about the buses here, and it got me thinking like, because growing up, I love like public transport, like TFO. I love TFO. I love studying buses and tubes, and I've been like that ever since a kid. One of my ambitions was to be a tube driver, but maybe it will happen sooner or later, but I don't know, man. We'll see. Nobody knows what they want to do in life, innit? But I just felt it as a kid, like, I can do that. I can drive a tube through a tunnel. He wouldn't want to do that as a kid. But yeah, man, it got me thinking, man. It just made me reminisce on like buses that I grew up on. The iconic buses. We all have our own iconic buses, So I wanted to like kind of share my iconic buses. I'll call them the legendary buses because they took me places I needed to go. Nah, they took me places I needed to go, like really needed to go, and just convenient for me. Growing up in my area, we all had the iconic buses that you can go on and the buses that you have to avoid. I might do a video on that soon. Stay tuned for that. But yeah, we all had our buses, and it just got me thinking, like looking at how much Auntie Bemi loves the buses, yeah. I was like, Auntie Bemi, I'm on your wave. I just wanted to share my like legendary buses, and I hope some people can relate, because obviously I grew up in South London. Most of the buses are in South London, but I also lived in like East London as well. Some East London buses I took as well, which was a bit, I don't really like East London too much. East London's a bit, yeah. If you know, you know. But yeah, I just decided that why not make a list of like my top 10 legendary buses, because we've got to pay homage, man. I wouldn't say I'm a bus enthusiast or a tube enthusiast. Big up all my bus enthusiasts and my TFL enthusiasts, because I do watch you lot, like Someone Explores, Jeff Marshall, Network Nathan. I think it's him. But big up all you lot, innit? Because yeah, you lot are interesting still. But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a bus enthusiast, but I do just appreciate buses. Like I like where the bus goes. I like it when there's news about a bus service changing companies or changing routes. Like, you know what I mean? It's interesting. Buses keep London moving. The bus drivers don't get enough homage, man. Seriously, big up all the bus drivers doing your job, because I can imagine as a person who works on the road as well, I can imagine how stupid people can be, and how stupid drivers can be, and how stupid passengers can be. You know what I mean? Because some of these passengers, oh my lord. But yeah, you bus drivers out there and tube drivers, all transport drivers, people who work on the transport, no matter what you do, whether you're a conductor, whether you work at the station, at the gates, big up all of you lot, innit? So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. I think this bus is very it doesn't get its recognition it deserves, especially if you live within the borough of Southwark, Lambeth, and the edges of Wandsworth. I'd say the P5 is definitely on my list, because especially growing up so I grew up in Bermondsey and Wharf Road, like Wharf Road / Kennington. I grew up on the backside of that, and the P5 always stopped outside my dad's house because my dad lived in Kennington / Wharf Road. And every time I was going to my dad's, I always used to get the bus from where I was staying with my mum, change at Elephant and Castle, and get the P5 straight to my dad's house. And every single time, the P5 never let me down. Never let me down. The bus was never cancelled. It did take long to come. It was a local bus, so it served all the locals, like locals of Wharf Road, Kennington, Brixton, Camberwell. Yeah, it goes through Camberwell, like Vassal Road and that. But yeah, the P5 was definitely that bus that served the community. That was a community bus. Definitely the P5 definitely deserves its flowers. Oh, you see this bus here, yeah? The W3. Like, I'm not from North London, but when I was between the ages of like 2 to like 4 or 5, every Friday, my mum used to take me to her friend's house. She was like my mum's like right hand back in the day when they were growing up. And yeah, every Friday after school, my mum used to take me to Frimsey Park, because that's where they lived. They lived in like Frimsey Park, like Stroud Green, maybe like Crouch Hill, like sides. Like, I can't remember exactly, but we always used to get off at Frimsey Park. We always used to get the W3, because the W3 stopped like around the corner from their house. And then we could just walk up the hill. But the W3 was like a legendary bus. I don't know what relationship I had with the W3, but I always look forward to getting on the W3 when we were going to their house. And like, I always liked Frimsey Park growing up as well. Like, I don't know why, because I'm from South London, and I was always looking forward to going to Frimsey Park. And that was when the Victoria line was the 1967 stock and not the 2010, 2012 stock. I don't know which one it is, but yeah, that was them days, you know, like, the Victoria line, man. I missed that model, man, because that model was so rapid. But yeah, I'll say the W3 was definitely a legendary bus in my book, even though like I used to trek from, you know, south to north. But yeah, W3, man. Listen. These 3 buses here, 44, 270, and the 77. I basically grew up in Tooting. I didn't grow up in Tooting, but like my cousin, big up Liam, I basically grew up with that guy. That's like my brother. He is my brother, more than my cousin. I always used to go to his house like pretty much every day. He used to come to my house every day. But yeah, he lives those sides as well. So I always used to go down there. The 270, the 44, and the 77 have a strong place in my heart, because I also used to live in Mitcham as well, Mitcham / Tooting, and the 77 and the 44 was the last stop, but obviously the 270 progressed to Mitcham. And yeah, man, it was only recent that I moved out of Mitcham. I moved out a couple months ago actually, and those 3 buses there, they've been the spine of my journeys. You know, they've kept me going. They've took me to uni. They've took me to Southside Shopping Centre. They've took me to my nan's house. They took me to my cousin's, my brethren's house. They took me everywhere. Special salute to those 3 buses, because you lot mean a lot. I'm such a dad. These 2 buses, 25 and 86. Now, this is when I was living in East London. Now, I only lived there for a couple months to a year or so. The 25 and the 86, there was only a certain time you could get these buses, like, and be safe. I was always scared when I was on these buses growing up. Not even growing up, because I was like 15, 16 when I was staying up, because my auntie used to live in Chadwell Heath. So when the trains weren't running and I was going back and forth from college, I used to get the 86. And then the 86 would have taken me to Stratford. Then I would have changed at Stratford to get the 25 to go into central London to get a train from there or whatever. And I would always get those 2 buses. And every time I got them buses, I was like, bruh, this could be the last time I get on this bus and never get off, or something. I don't know. Especially when it goes through like Romford Road. That's when my heart starts beating. Once I get past Ilford, I'm good. Like towards Seven Kings and Chadwell Heath, I'm fine. But it's always Romford Road. I'm like, but yeah, these 2 buses, they definitely helped me out when I needed them the most, and that's why I've got to give a good shout out to them as well. Oh, RIP to the 48, man. Listen, that east to South London connection, man, there's not enough of them in London now. Maybe there is now, because obviously you got the 129 that goes from Lewisham to Galleons Reach, and you got the 388, but there's not much buses that go from south straight to East London like the 48 did. The 48 is the goated bus, because I used to get, because this is the same auntie that used to live in that lives in Chadwell Heath. She used to live in Walthamstow, so I used to, same time when I used to get the go to college, sometimes I used to get the bus from the W15 as well. Sorry, the W15, because the W15 took me straight to my auntie's house, because she used to live in Walthamstow by a Priory estate, and the W15 took me right there. And that's why I give a salute to W15, because boy, I ain't walking from Walthamstow Central, but the 48 always, even when I didn't have money, I used to get the bus, because I couldn't. Sometimes I was a kid with the Oyster card of no money, and I used to get the bus. Sometimes I had to beg the bus driver to let me on, and he let me on. And the 48 was just the goated bus, because sometimes I would just chill on the bus and it would take me straight to South, or take me straight to Central London. That's what the 48 is, just goated. And whoever disagrees, mate, you missed out, man. But yeah, the 48 and the W15, man, those two buses there, man, goated. The 137, you know, that is the, listen, let me tell you about the 137. So basically, it was a mad coincidence that both my grandparents on my mum and dad's, all four of my grandparents lived on Kings Avenue, where the 137 goes, as well as the 417 and the 355, etc. But it was always the 137 I would always get, and that would always be the bus that I remember, because both my grandparents used to live on Kings Avenue. Like my nan and my granddad lived in Bowie Close off of Kings Avenue, and my granddad lived a bit further down on the road called Lotes Road. I think you'd get off at Rosebery Street or something like that. But yeah, the 137 was always the bus that I used to get, and it wasn't even the bus that you see on the screen. Not that kind of bus. It was the one before that, the old Route Master, the old 137 Route Master I used to get on. But this was like, when did the Route Master stop? Like 2005, 6. But I was getting it when like 2002, 2003, that kind of time frame. But yeah, the 137, man, that is the goated bus, especially if you live around Brixton and Clapham and Streatham Hill and them sides. The 137, yeah, it does what it needs to do. It does its job well. You know, straight from south to west. What more can you ask for? All right, all my South Londoners, like Southwest Londoners to be specific, like Merton to be specific, Lambeth to be specific, please take a moment with me to mourn the loss of a legendary bus. And I say legendary to all these buses because they're all legendary, but the 118 was a legendary bus. It's now the 45, which I don't understand. Why don't you just extend the 118 to Camberwell instead of the 45 and just scrap the 45? Like, no one gets on the 45. You know what I mean? Like, the 45 was just such a dead bus. It's just the 45. But yeah, as I got older, I took the 118 most weekends to my nan's house because she lived in Pollard's Hill / Mitcham, and the 118 did its job well. Not during rush hours though, because you know, going down Streatham Hill during rush hour could be a bit mad. And now those were the times, especially after primary school, and like my mum was getting me ready, and we used to get the bus around 4 or 5 p.m. Yeah, you didn't want to be on Streatham Hill at that time. But yeah, the 118 definitely done its job, and I just wanted to say rest in peace to the 118. Hey, whoever came up with the idea of bendy buses in London, yeah, I hope you are getting the nicest foot rub on the beach in Bahamas, sipping a nice rum and coconut punch or something nice, and you're getting a back rub, because you saved me a lot of money, as well as every other person in London. You saved us all a lot of money, and I salute you. The 453 was my local bendy bus, because I could just take it from wherever I wanted to and take it home, because I lived like 5 minutes from Old Kent Road, so I could just hop off the 453 and walk home happy and jolly, without worrying about losing a penny. But yeah, the 453 was a legendary bus because it was a legendary bus, and as well as any other bendy bus, but the 453 was my local legendary bendy bus. So the 453 definitely deserves its flowers. Yeah, the one is the one. The one is the one. This bus is just a classic bus. It's the number one. It should be number one, but it's not. But it's the number one. It's just a great bus. It took me everywhere I needed to go, because the bus stopped outside of my house where I grew up. And I don't know if I could say enough about this bus, because it's just one of the greatest buses. If you want to go West End, get the one. If you want to go Elephant and Castle, get the one. If you want to go Canada Water, get the one. If you want to go to Waterloo, get the one. The one is just the one. The one is the one. Number one. The 381. The 381. Now, this was another bus that you had to pray you didn't die on, because the 381 was like especially when I was growing up, because the 381, yeah, especially during school days, the 381 went through most of the schools in Southwark that I would say didn't get along, but it did. Obviously most of the schools got along, but there was always like that little school rivalry in it, and the 381 went through all those schools. If you know, you know. I'm not even gonna list them, but if you know, you know. Especially when I was growing up here, the roadmen, they were always on that bus. Trust me, they were always on that bus, especially upstairs at the back. If you know, you know. I don't need to say no more, but the 381 was such a scary bus, especially when it passed Canada Water towards Peckham. I'd probably say I lived in between the Peckham and the Canada Water. I was always terrified to get on that bus. Not always, that's a stretch. That is a stretch. I wasn't always terrified, but anything could happen on the 381. I could sit here for hours and talk about stories I've seen on the 381, you know. But the 381, if you know, you know, especially if you're from Southwark and like Peckham, Old Kent Road, Bermondsey, even as far as Tower Bridge. Tower Bridge had its moments as well, you know. Tower Bridge back in the day was not an innocent touristy area. I'll tell you that for free. But the 381, again, as I always say, it served its purpose. It served the community, especially when you're going from, you know, Peckham and you're trying to take the scenic route and you go through like the back of Bermondsey and Canada Water and come back round down Jamaica Road towards London Bridge. It was a nice bus. It was a nice bus in terms of looking out the window. But yeah, you didn't want to look at the back of the bus, trust me. But the 381 is the number one king of the legendary buses, because, you know, I used to love that bus. But yeah, man, times have changed. Me, I drive now. I'm a driver. I like to be on the road and not on the bus or the train. But I do appreciate like TFL and everything they've done for the community and everything they've done for me growing up. And yeah, as you can see, the curry goat is cooked and my girl is ready to dive into the food, because we love food, man. We love food. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just got to taste great. And that's how I see food and how I see cooking. Cool. We can watch like Gordon Ramsay in Hell's Kitchen and Jamie Oliver and Ainsley Harriott. Big up uncle. But like, he's not my uncle for real, but he's uncle, TV uncle. But yeah, but when it comes to just making food, as long as it tastes great and it feeds the soul, that's the most important thing. You can feed your stomach, but does it feed the soul? That's what you got to think about. And that's what I always do when I'm cooking. You know, I like to guesstimate. I don't like to follow recipes, because it's good following recipes, but you know, obviously I follow some recipes if they're too like technical, but most of the time I just freestyle my cooking, because as long as I'm putting love into it, that's all that matters. And that's what you should do as well. So that's the end of the video. So I just want to say thank you if you've been watching, and make sure you like, comment, share and subscribe, and let me know your legendary buses, because I want to know. I want to know. This video ain't just for me, it's for you lot as well, because hopefully you can relate. If you don't, like I said, let me know your favorite routes. Even if you're not from London, if you're from America, if you're from Birmingham, if you're from Manchester, if you're from Bristol, if you're from Taiwan, I don't care. If you get the bus, let me know your routes. And that is that. So salute.